So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from today. My name is Dr. Chudley Wirch, and I'm founder and CEO here at Prevention Plus Wellness, located in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. Beautiful and historic St. Augustine. If you haven't been here, please visit us. Let me know, and I'll show you around our very unique city. So today, free webinar from Prevention Plus Wellness. As you can see the title, helping youth live an active, healthy, and drug-free lifestyle. This is a brand new webinar. I will be sending everybody who attends a 1-hour certificate. You just need to type in your name and make a copy for your records. I'll also be sending you a PDF of these slides that you're welcome to use for others, and a link to this recorded session in case you wanted to share that with others as well. So I'll be doing all those things. And Harry's calling in and from Michigan. Thank you, Harry. So let me know as we go along if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's anything that I presented that's not clear. Please let me know. Use that Q&A, find that Q&A option in your toolbar and type that in. If you have questions, I will address them at the end of today's slide presentation. And again, thank you all. I know you're busy, and I know you've got a lot on your plate. So for those of you that were able to make it, thank you so much. So let me just tell you what this is about. This is a version of information that I really conceptualize this as something that you could present to your youth or your young adult population, maybe even parents, but particularly to youth or young adults. So again, it sort of represents where we're coming from, where I'm coming from with Prevention Plus Wellness. That is the critical need to integrate and address multiple health risks that young people experience. And that is substance use, but also risks associated with physical inactivity, poor nutrition, not eating breakfast, lack of sleep, uncontrolled stress. So all of these things are impacting youth, and these health risks, behaviors interact with each other in interesting ways. So I think from a holistic perspective, if you are interested in promoting the overall physical, mental, social health of young people, you'd be interested in this because it's not so narrowly focused just on one risk behavior, a factor, whether that be substance use or even within substance use, maybe e-cigarettes, for example. But it looks at multiple risks and how we can address those within single program strategies and communications with our young people. All right, so that's just a little overview of where I'm coming from and where this is coming from. Let's go ahead and take a look at the session objectives. There's 4 of them. You'll be able to, after today's session, identify the physical and mental health risks associated with substance use. I suspect most of you are substance use prevention providers or specialists in one way or another, professionals. And so you'll probably have a really good handle on this already. So I'll just go over that very quickly. That's the health risks, physical and mental, associated with substance use. But number 2, we'll also explore the physical and mental health risks associated with other health risk behaviors, particularly, as I've already mentioned, the role of physical inactivity, poor nutrition, lack of sleep, and uncontrolled stress. And how does that impact the physical and mental well-being of youth? And how does that, how do those relate with each other, influence each other, and the impact on substance use? So we'll look at that. Number 3, we're going to examine the mental, physical, and social benefits of the big 3 health behaviors plus 1, and the impacts of those on a healthy lifestyle. Big 3 being physical activity, nutrition, and sleep. Those are the big three health behaviors. And of course, the one I'm adding, not of course, but the one I'm adding is stress control. Now, just popped into my mind, you should really have add two to that, and that is substance use avoidance. But when I talk about the big three, I'm talking about something you want to promote among your youth and young adult populations. You want to promote physical activity, promote healthy nutrition and breakfast eating, promote sleep, and the control of stress, or taking steps to control stress. So we'll talk about the benefits of those, the big three plus one. And then lastly, we're going to review the health behavior guidelines, very, very important, this last section, and 4 steps that really come out of our model, our prevention plus wellness model, that you could present to youth, to your youth populations, to help them live a more active, healthy, and drug-free lifestyle. So I really believe, and by the way, lots and lots of resources, extra content and links that you can use to present this information to your youth population or other populations. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you look at the first objective, we're going to identify the physical and mental risks associated with youth substance use. What you don't see there is, as well as number 2, you don't see me talking about prevalence. You don't see me mentioning, how many youth are using alcohol, how many youth are using e-cigarettes or cannabis, how many youth are not getting physical activity or not getting adequate sleep. And the reason I'm doing that is because I and you as prevention specialists, when you present information about risk behaviors to youth, you don't want to support the already existing perception that young people have. They overestimate the percentage of their youth engaged in substance use, and we know that's a risk factor for actual use. So, and I see this as a constant, almost constant mistake that we make as prevention and health specialists. We're so used to presenting to adults and to funding agencies, to parents. Yes, there you can present, the percentages and the proportions of youth using substances, and highlight the fact that there are large numbers and maybe even a majority using. But when you present to youth, it's very, very important not to present data or statistics that show that youth are widely engaged in substance use. In fact, there is such a thing as expectancy programs that present the opposite. They try to present the facts that most young people are not using substances. That's really what you want to do. And the other side of that coin for these other health behaviors, you don't want to present statistics or data that show that most youth are not getting physical activity, are not eating healthy, are not getting adequate sleep. You don't want to support those, those health risks. Does that make sense? If it didn't make sense, please let me know, and I could address that a little bit more as we go along. So what are the health risks that young people address that experience in their lives? Substance use risk. Now, again, I suspect you're well aware of this. You will not see prevalence rates, percentages, portions of youth engaged in, for example, alcohol use. So what does that leave you with for presenting to youth in terms of risk information? What it leaves you with is presenting outcomes, the severity of use, or possible problems associated with substance use. So I'm going to look at the major substances, present to you today: alcohol, e-cigarettes, cannabis, and opioids. And you'll get the idea. But what we're focusing here on problems in youth. And the more salient the problem, that is, the more relevant to them, not long-term cancer, heart disease, even though it's worth mentioning, the effects that are more relevant to them in their daily lives are going to have more impact on their actual decision-making. Nonetheless, again, I think we need to address all of them. And I'm sure you're well aware of these, so I won't spend a lot of time on these, but you will have a link at the end of these slides, like this one here. You'll see you'll be able to go to NIH, particularly NIAAA, National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, and get this data and information if you want to present this to your youth. And this is good information to present to youth because we're not presenting statistics on the percentages of youth. And we're not presenting that most youth or many youth are using, which can drive actual use. So again, I continually see, and I have the same inclination. We want to present a picture of a problem, and we often do that in presenting prevalence statistics. But when it comes to youth, you want to not show those data. You want to show this data, this information. Number one, that alcohol use does cause a considerable amount of deaths every year among young people under age 21. I am shocked by this. I mean, it's just, we are talking about, now the latest, by the way, you see number one, I have 4,000 to 5,000 a year, differs from year to year. I think the latest CDC statistics are 3,900, 3,900 youth as our most recent year died from alcohol consumption through vehicle crashes, homicides, suicides, falls, burns, drownings, etc. It's a horrendous loss of young life due to alcohol use. I'm shocked by it. And I hope your youth will be as well, even though, again, they may not perceive themselves at risk. It's good to share these data. Look at this. Injuries, number two, 188,000 injuries, such that the young people had to go to an emergency room. Of course, there's many others that didn't require that, but that's tens of thousands of young people going to emergency rooms every year because of alcohol use. We know that alcohol impairs judgment, making it more likely to make poor decisions about sexual behavior, drinking, driving, aggression. Number four, alcohol consumption can increase the risk for experiencing violence, either as a perpetrator or as a victim, or both. Can lead to other problems, including other substance use, problems in your life with your parents, with your school, with the law, with your friends. Now, this is probably has the most impact on young people in terms of decision-making. Alcohol can really cause problems with you and others in your life on an immediate basis. So something to be aware of and to be vigilant of. So alcohol use increases alcohol problems in life, increases the chances of addiction or alcohol use disorder, as well as other substance use, because of the impact alcohol has on the developing brain. The brain's under development until age 25, 26. So if you're using alcohol before that, alcohol can have a negative influence on your in other words, alcohol can shape the structure and function of your brain, of your thinking. I want to highlight for you, and for you to highlight among your young people, many of you I'm sure already do, the particular risks associated with binge drinking. So I want to delineate a little bit different, not just use of alcohol, but again, we see this with almost all the substances, if not all the substances. How you use a substance makes a difference as well. The more frequently you use a substance, in this case, we're talking about alcohol, the heavier you use it, the earlier in life you use it. Those three factors. If you start using a substance early, particularly before 13, even before 15, even before 18, but particularly the younger you start using a substance, the greater the risks are for you for addiction and other problems later in life. The more frequently you use it, the heavier you use it. And binge drink has to do with the heavy use. Normally, binge drinking means 4 drinks or more for a female or a woman, 5 or more for a male within about a 2-hour period. That's the definition of binge drinking. For young people, because their bodies are smaller, developing, it's less. For a female adolescent, 3 drinks in a 2-hour period is considered binge drinking, up to 5 for a male, depending on their physical size. So binge drinking is really not that much alcohol. So, and we know binge drinking is associated with the increase of every negative outcome from drinking. So binge drinking you want to stay away from. Now I'm going to share a statistic with you that I'm asking you not to share with your adolescents, and that is 90% of drinking that goes on in adolescence is binge drinking. I think that's a CDC or an NIAAA, I should say, statistic. Because it's frequent, because it's prevalence, I don't want to highlight that, but I want to highlight it with you professionals that when young people do drink, they often drink to excess. That's the problem. That is a key problem in terms of negative outcomes to their physical, mental well-being, their life even, and certainly to their brain development and functioning and success in life. That's alcohol use. Shifting over to marijuana, you'll see the same patterns. Marijuana, like alcohol, can influence the brain. Particularly, marijuana has been shown to have an impact on increasing depression and social anxiety. It increases the chance of a temporary psychosis. That's not knowing where you're at, having hallucinations, paranoia. More importantly, marijuana use has been found to be associated with greater increases in long-lasting mental disorders like schizophrenia. That's very serious, where you might see and hear things that aren't there, hallucinations. And research is pointing to the fact that some individuals are at greater risk for these mental health problems. And when you use alcohol, that sort of opens the door, unleashes or unlocks that chance of you experiencing schizophrenia in your life that you wouldn't necessarily experience if you didn't use marijuana. The key here under number 1, the earlier the age you start using marijuana, and the more frequently you use marijuana, are definitely factors in unleashing or increasing risk for mental health issues. Again, we see this with the substances. Earlier the age and the more frequent. So we really want to promote youth and to help youth not use before age 13, before 15, even before 18. The later they use, if at all, the better. And again, if a young person is getting involved in smoking or using marijuana on a regular basis, every day especially, even every week, that is going to increase risk for mental disorders. Number 2, impaired driving, of course, with regard to time, coordination, concentration, potential for addiction. Great statistic here, 3 out of 10 people who use marijuana are addicted. They have a marijuana use disorder. That means it's very difficult, or much more difficult, for them to stop using. That means they're much more likely to choose marijuana use and friends that use marijuana and start avoiding non-marijuana activities in their life. In other words, selecting marijuana over other important things in their life. Again, the sooner young people start using marijuana, the more frequently they use it, even how heavily they use it. All of these are factors for potential addiction. Marijuana, we know a lot. I mean, we hear a lot about this in the brain. Of course, alcohol has an impact on the brain. Almost any substance used has an impact on the developing brain. Difficulty thinking and problem solving can be impacted by marijuana use, problems with memory and learning. So here you can see how marijuana could literally have an impact on your success in school and job creation, et cetera. Reduced coordination, maintaining attention, of course, social life problems, school problems, family problems, problems with the law associated with the marijuana impacts on the brain. Let's shift to e-cigarettes, same kind of thing here. We see some, I hope you're seeing parallels between the outcomes with alcohol and marijuana, now e-cigarettes and opioids, that these substances have an impact on your physical health, on your mental health and brain formation, on your social well-being and success in life, and on addiction potential. So e-cigarettes contain chemicals that can cause irreversible lung damage and brain alteration. And so if you value your lungs, if you like to get out and move about, if you're in the activities, physical activities and sports, this should be concerning to you how e-cigarettes can really have a negative impact on your ability to engage in those physical activities and sports. If you're concerned about thinking, cognition, memory, then e-cigarettes are something you don't want to engage in, because there's harmful chemicals like formaldehyde, which is actually causes cancer, like this weed killer, proline, is an actual weed killer that's found and can cause irreversible lung damage, is found in e-cigarettes. Nicotine, of course, is the major drug in e-cigarettes, as well as tobacco products, that is very harmful, that can influence the brain, it can influence the body. And so we've got multiple negative outcomes, including the aerosols that come from e-cigarettes that can, again, cause irritation to the lungs, to the throat, to the eyes, can influence your ability to sleep, increase chances of getting colds and flus. Nicotine, again, the main substance in tobacco products, but also e-cigarettes. This can influence attention and learning and mood and impulse control, et cetera. And it can increase the chances very quickly for addiction. So addiction to nicotine is very, very common. And it's in e-cigarettes, it's in vaping e-cigarettes, as well as in tobacco products, regular cigarettes and cigars and dipped chewed tobacco, et cetera. So definitely nicotine's a problem and can impact the brain. How about opioids? Opioids affect the brain, they affect your body. You can see they're very effective in reducing pain, but through their work on the brain and the spinal cord. But whether you're talking about an illegal opioid like heroin or fentanyl, now even in the news just as of yesterday, fentanyl laced with animal tranquilizer, very, very dangerous, very quick potential for addiction. And even more scary because of fentanyl, and because fentanyl being 50, 100 times more powerful than, depending on which kind of opioid you're comparing it to, life-threatening even in a single dose. So do not take any pill or any substance that you are that doesn't come directly from a pharmacist or a doctor. Let me just put it that way. Not from friends, not from acquaintances, certainly not from strangers. Don't put anything in your body, because even if you think it's one thing, it could be something else, and it could be deadly, because it could be opioids, it could be fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid. Effects on your body, it can literally shut down your heart rate and your breathing, causing death. Okay, so, and very, very addictive. Addiction can be caused very quickly, particularly for young people on opioids. So you do not want to misuse your opioids. Try not to use an opioid, even for pain relief. If you have to, use it under careful watch of your doctor, your family members. Use as little as possible. And opioids, again, they can kill you. And of the overdose deaths that we most recently reviewed, that we're aware of, 46,000 of those are due to opioids. And here's some of the symptoms of opioid misuse. So you can see this, they're not pleasant symptoms. Nobody wants to be constipated, nausea, dizzy, vomiting, headache, sweating, etc. What are some other health risks that the prevention specialists may not be as quite aware of as substance use? So these that I just presented, most likely you're all aware of or aware of to a certain extent. But I wanted to share them with you because, again, lots of links there that you can go to other sources for additional information. What are some other risks? Let's talk about these other risks that are associated with physical well-being, as well as brain development and functioning and social outcomes. And these can exacerbate the negative outcomes from substance use. So if you've got a youth that's using marijuana and also physically inactive, you've got, those two items having similar outcomes or overlapping outcomes, particularly on brain development. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's some effects of youth of physical inactivity. This can lead to an energy imbalance. In other words, you can gain weight very quickly. You can become obese even. If you're not getting regular physical activity, you're going to be at risk for increased blood fat, fat in your blood. What the word I'm trying to glycerides, I can't remember. I'm talking about hyperlipidemia, lipids in your blood, high blood pressure, insulin resistance. This can lead to type 2 diabetes, a type associated not from childhood but from lifestyle and from weight. Increased risk for developing different kinds of cancers under number 4, breast, colon, endometrial, and lung cancers associated with not being physically active, and even osteoporosis and low bone density. Now, some of these things may or may not be of particular influence on youth decision-making, but nonetheless, well worth mentioning to youth. And then also physical inactivity and mental health. Here's the parallels with substance use, I think. Physical inactivity is associated with greater likelihood of psychological distress, depression, lower mental well-being, lower life satisfaction, and less happiness. So, not being physically active has powerful influences, just not on the physical system and all the things we just mentioned, but mental status and mental well-being and satisfaction with your life. So very, very important. And again, it can exacerbate the effects of substance use, because youth are not just likely to have one risk factor, but research shows that young people are likely to have multiple health behavior risk factors. So not just substance use, but physical inactivity, for example, or poor eating. And what are the effects of poor eating? And without a definition at this point, you could see gaining weight, if you're eating sugary foods and drinks, tooth decay, dental caries, high blood pressure, cholesterol, which I was looking for earlier, heart disease and stroke, which is increasing. You see all the, and depression as well. So physical and mental outcomes from poor nutrition. If we just take a look at one eating behavior, skipping breakfast, the youth risk behavior survey data, we know that only a third of adolescents, that's 1 in 3, eat breakfast every day. We don't even know what the quality of that breakfast is. We got 2/3 of adolescents, 66% or so, that are not eating a breakfast every day. And we could see what's associated with skipping breakfast. It's linked to poor nutrition throughout the day. a poor academic performance, more calorie consumption. So if you're skipping breakfast to cut calories, it's going to work against you. And we know that regular breakfast is associated with regular physical activity. By the way, regular breakfast, regular physical activity, getting adequate sleep, all those are related to each other and are less likely to be associated with substance use. So that's the relationship between these behaviors, which is really important to present to youth. Healthy behaviors, physical activity, breakfast, healthy nutrition generally, sleep, they support each other, promote overall mental, physical health, social development, and protect to a certain extent against substance use. Substance use interferes with engaging in these healthy behaviors. And so that's the general relationship. Skipping breakfast effects on mental health, just alone. If you skip breakfast, you're going to be higher risk for stress, for depression, psychological distress, and anxiety, which is so prevalent already in young, in adolescence. So eating breakfast, very important. Skipping breakfast is just, it's really a major risk factor for physical and mental health. Let's talk about sleep now. We're talking about these behaviors, physical activity, nutrition, and sleep, essentially as medicine or as just critical behaviors for promoting physical and mental and social well-being. Okay, inadequate sleep. And what is that associated with? These major areas of problems in youth, their ability to think and their academic success, their emotional health. So much in the prevention field now is social emotional learning, SEL. Well, here you've got a behavior, sleep, that's directly associated with emotional health development. So you can be having a curriculum and teaching emotional health, but if they're not getting sleep, it's going against what you're trying to, those skills you're trying to teach youth. So in emotional awareness, for example, or emotional control, sleep is essential to emotional health and emotional development, and physical health and development. Sleep essential. Decision-making and risk behaviors. So not getting adequate sleep, more likely to have make decisions about using substances, have risky sex, getting engaged in accidents and getting injuries. So sleep, very, very important. So let's now talk, we're going to flip this now and look at the other side of this. We did to a certain extent, but now we're going to look specifically at the benefits. What are the benefits of the big three? Physical activity, healthy nutrition, including breakfast, sleep, plus one. And that plus one I'm adding is stress control, stress management, or relaxation of some type. So let's look at the benefits of these. And here we go. Benefits first of physical activity and sports. This comes from the President's Council on Sports Physical Fitness and Nutrition Science Board. And just a whole list of sports and physical activity effects on mental, emotional, and social well-being. Again, here we are so concerned about, and rightly so, about the social emotional development of young people and those skills. We know that physical activity has tremendous positive outcomes on mental, emotional, and social well-being, and not engaging in physical activity has the opposite effect. So here are the benefits: physical activity and sports, lower rates of anxiety, depression, lower stress, higher self-esteem, less suicide. Again, suicide falls within the mental health outcomes. There's strong links between suicide and physical activity and breakfast eating and sleep. Those three things, physical activity, breakfast eating, sleep, can protect against suicide ideation and suicide attempts. And not engaging in physical activity, not eating healthy, and particularly breakfast, not getting adequate sleep is going to increase the risk for suicide ideation and actual suicide attempts. Less substance abuse and other risky behaviors and so on. Lots of good things here: emotion, creativity, cognitive performance, satisfaction, as we mentioned. This is physical activity, this is sports participation. These are benefits: mental, emotional, social. There are also the physical health benefits. It could be weight, it could be bone health, it could be, physical activity levels and cancer prevention, and overall quality of life is the one to, I think, highlight for youth, because that'll probably resonate most with them. Lifelong participation benefits. So physical activity, the kind we're talking about, they can be sports, they can be non-sports, they can be both, but participation in sports and physical activities can lead to improved mental health outcomes and long-term effects in reducing stress and improved mental health. And number 3, adolescents who play sports are 8 times more likely to be physically active later on in life at age 24. So really, there's long-term benefits of engaging in sports and physical activities. There's economic benefits, both directly and indirectly, in terms of personal health care costs. Now, let's shift from physical activity and sports to healthy eating. These data are from, and statistics are from, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Healthy Schools, as well as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And here's some of the benefits. These are some of the physical benefits that really healthy eating. It's so important in terms of controlling weight, to getting the essential nutrients that you need for physical, bone, muscle, skin, brain development, and prevention against chronic diseases in particular, and even dental caries or cavities, but also other things. Let's just look at, again, the benefits of breakfast. Energy. No breakfast, less energy. And breakfast fits beautifully with and supports and increases the likelihood of getting adequate sleep and exercise. Those big 3, the big 3, nutrition, sleep, exercise, all about energy, improved concentration, success, brain development, success with memory, with recall, with grades, increases likelihood of healthy choices and avoiding substance use and other risky behaviors. So those are some of the benefits of eating breakfast. How about sleep? What are some of the benefits of sleep from the Sleep Foundation? We've actually mentioned these before, but thinking and academic achievement, emotional health and development, physical health and development, decision-making and avoiding risky behaviors, avoiding accidents and injuries. So these big 3 behaviors: physical activity and sports, breakfast and nutrition, sleep, all essential to promoting physical and mental well-being, social development, emotional development, and avoiding risky behaviors like substance use. Here's the +1 I wanted to add, because now stress is common among young people, among all people, but stress is common among young people. We're talking about young people, we're talking about adolescents, we're talking about young adults. Physical activity, nutrition, sleep, all help control stress. But because stress is so prevalent and so damaging and can increase risk for suicide, etc., I wanted to address this separately. So here are the general benefits, or benefits of general relaxation. And by relaxation, I'm talking about a lot of things: a walk in the park or in nature, a warm bath or shower, listening to quiet music, prayer, meditation, muscle relaxation, a lot of different things. It doesn't matter, even art, etc. Lots of things fall within this relaxation realm. But look at the benefits. Again, physical benefits, mental benefits, social benefits, increasing confidence, et cetera. Lots and lots of benefits. And specifically, you can look at the benefits of meditation, where there's quite a bit of research, and you can see, again, similar kinds of things, improving everything from sleep to kindness to help avoiding substance use to emotional health, controlling anxiety and stress. So really good thing. Social emotional learning includes these behaviors, these health behaviors. So what can we conclude from all of this? Regular physical activity and sports, healthy nutrition and breakfast, plenty of sleep are linked to a wide range of positive outcomes mentally, physically, socially, emotionally for young people. So you add that with the focus on preventing substance use, and you've got some real, I think, important development and protection of young people. So what are the guidelines for health behaviors and steps for improving wellness? You can present this to youth as well. Really important, I think, just to let youth know what the guidelines are. And I wouldn't talk about prevalence. So for example, we know CDC and a bunch of other fitness, national and international fitness organizations recommend at a minimum an hour of moving the body. It doesn't have to be an exercise, all of it an exercise. It doesn't have to all be in a sport. It could be walking, it could be stairs, it could be fun things, moving the body, so if you have, a step counter, that can help give you this idea. If you could just count the steps, if you could just look at the amount of time, 1 hour is recommended a day. And I would not share this with youth, but again, we've got less than 1 in 4 adolescents getting this amount of physical activity. So I don't want to share that because I don't want to make that normative and say, oh, okay, my peers aren't physically active, that's good, I'm not physically active. So you can see where I'm coming from. That's why, again, presenting prevalence and percentages and numbers of youth, frequencies of use, not good idea with young people, whether that's substance use or with health behaviors. Sleep, 8 hours is a recommended amount for adolescents, 8 to 10, it varies quite a bit with individuals. I will share with you that less than a quarter of adolescents are getting 8 hours of sleep. We already saw, I just showed you the problems associated with lack of sleep, the problems associated with physical activity, the benefits of those two behaviors for physical, mental, social, emotional development. And yet here we go, less than a quarter of high school adolescents in the United States are getting 8 hours of sleep. So very important. The main thing is to present to youth that this is the goal for them, at least 8 hours. Healthy breakfast every day. We know a third eat breakfast. We don't know how healthy. 2/3 are not eating breakfast every day. So critical. These 3 behaviors, the big 3, physical activity, nutrition, and sleep, very important. And in addition to nutrition, I'm talking about breakfast, 4 and 5 are recommendations. 3 vegetables a day, 2 fruits a day. In other words, 5 fruits and vegetables a day. Adolescents are not even close to eating that amount. I mean, the numbers they're in double digits, but that's about where they're at. So the percentage of young people eating, there's more eating 2 fruits a day, but less eating 3 vegetables a day. So, but nowhere near even the majority of youth eating that amount of fruits and vegetables, so essential to obtaining the nutrients in their diet every day. We need to do better with promoting fruits and vegetables. So that's the goal, to tell them 3 vegetable servings a day, 3 fruits a day. I know how difficult it is. I know it's even more challenging with low income areas and different populations. I know that. But still, youth need to know what the recommendation is and to try to work toward achieving what they can in these behaviors. Avoiding alcohol and drug use, that's the goal. Avoiding until Adulthood, that means in most in the United States, most countries, 21, and maybe not at all, but promoting, preventing substance use as long as possible, really important. And then secondly, within that, especially avoiding the very, very dangerous frequent use, heavy use, and again, early use of any substances. And I add to that practicing a daily relaxation technique. I don't see that as a recommendation from any particular source, but the research is clear. Young people are under stress. Healthy nutrition helps, sleep helps, breakfast and healthy other nutrition helps. But because of the prevalence and the concerns of young people, a daily relaxation technique, also a great idea. So that's my added number 7, my added recommendation. So here's 4 steps that you can use and share with young people to live a more active, healthy, drug-free. You can add other descriptors to that: successful, enjoyable, happy, confident, lifestyle. These are the things. Number 1, and again, this comes directly from our Prevention Plus Wellness programs, our research over years, broader research and looking at health behaviors, and of course, what I've just presented to you. But first of all, number 1, use a screening survey to increase health behavior reflection. So it's important for young people to pause on a regular basis every year, every semester, every other month, whatever they want, to think about their health behaviors. What substance use are they engaged in or not engaged in? What other health risks might they have, or other health promoting behaviors? So reflecting on one's health behaviors is the first step in changing personal habits. So we want young people to become aware of their health risks and their health strengths. We want them to think about specific steps that they can take to improve each of their health behaviors. And the way to do this is either very efficiently is through a screening survey or asking them questions about their health habits to reflect on them. So here's a screening survey we put together at Prevention Plus Wellness. All Prevention Plus Wellness programs have a screening survey for the purpose of increasing reflection on their health behaviors. But here's one that's sort of a generic one we put together recently. And it's in the last 30 days. Did you? And so if you've got young people out there, adolescents, young adults, have them answer these questions to themselves. Do they get 60 minutes or more physical activity every day? There's some examples: running, walking, swimming, etc., sports, chores, yes or no. Number 2, did they limit their non-school related screen time to 2 or fewer hours? That's recommendations from CDC and other organizations, I believe. So you've got physical activity and you got screen time. They're related, they're associated, but they are a little bit different. Limiting screen time, very important, but physical activity has additional benefits to that. So it's not just, all right, I'm not going to have less than 2 hours of screen time. And that's, by the way, screen time is recreational. It's not school related. It's not work related. It's TV, it's computers, it's smartphones, it's tablets, it's online games. And if you're spending 2 or more hours, not a good thing. Not a good thing for young people. So we want to limit that. Number 3, eating a breakfast every morning. Number 4, 8 or more hours of sleep every night. Number 5, avoiding alcohol, marijuana, other drugs. Number 6, avoiding e-cigarettes and tobacco. I sort of split those up, so we sort of highlight both of those as being critical, those 2 groups of substances, and to sort of say, hey, this screening survey is so important, we need to have substances mentioned in 2 items, number 5, number 6, and number 7, are you practicing on a daily basis an active relaxation strategy? Deep, slow breathing, walking in nature, sitting in a quiet place, meditating, praying, taking a bath, or a shower, playing with a pet, I tried to list a whole bunch of things, listening to quiet music, etc. Now, this screening survey is actually a part of something we call the Youth Wellness Lifestyle Checkup. And there's a link to it, and it comes not just with the survey, but a scoring guide and giving, some feedback to youth. And you can get a copy of it there on our website. So what are some strategies under this number one, use the screening survey to increase reflection? Some strategies are number one, asking youth what specific types of healthy habits would they like to increase. So let's say it's sleep. There's a lot of things within sleep. Obviously, you want to increase the amount of sleep, but there's things within that that can help them as well achieve that 8 hours or more sleep every night. It could be setting a time to go to bed every night, regular time to go to bed. It could be shutting off and locking up your smartphone. There's lots of things that go into that, and to goal setting, by the way, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Number two, what specific steps could you take to improve each of your health behaviors? Physical activity, breakfast and nutrition, sleep, stress control. Number three, which specific types of substances would you like to avoid in the future? Really good questions to ask and for your youth to think about and to discuss and to make decisions about. That's step one, using a screening survey to get young people, or questions to get young people to start reflecting on their health habits. Step two, identify, I gotta sort of speed up here, almost we're running a little low on time. Identify the benefits of healthy behaviors. Benefits of engaging in health behaviors will increase motivation and positive expectations. What are the benefits if I got a little bit more physical activity, if I got a little bit more sleep, if I ate one more piece of fruit or vegetable serving a day? What's the positive future images and images of their peers engaged in healthy behaviors associated with these? Because images have particular motivational power. Strategies in this area have youth think about how they would look and feel in the future. Could be a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, maybe all of those, to engage in various individual health habits, and compare yourself now to a year from now if you participated more regularly in a specific healthy behavior, like again, got an hour of physical activity every day. Step number three, you want to link to these healthy behaviors and those benefits and those images how substance use harms them. Link how specific substances, it could be e-cigarettes, opioids, drinking or binge drinking or whatever you want, how that behavior, that substance use behavior, interferes with achieving being physically active, for example. And you want to address this within your single communications, your single programs. That's, by the way, what we do at Prevention Plus Wellness. Identify how substance use sabotages, it's a great word, sabotages your achievement of positive benefits and desired future outcomes. What are some strategies? Ask youth to identify how specific substances, again, it could be alcohol or cannabis, e-cigarettes, opioids, or a certain level of use, of daily use, or binge drinking, or whatever you want, how that can interfere with achieving specific healthy behaviors, being physically active, eating a breakfast every day, and eating more fruits and vegetables, and eating more nutritiously, getting adequate sleep, controlling, engaging in relaxation, and controlling stress. Number two, list negative outcomes from using specific substances to your health and to your health habits. And lastly, number four, make a multiple health behavior goal plan or plan. So we want youth to initiate and to achieve behavior change. This is the tool, and that is making a plan. And this will, over time, as youth continue to set plans on a weekly basis, to develop self-regulation skills and self-efficacy. Their plan has to be specific. In other words, it has to be measurable and it has to be achievable. And you want it to target multiple goals: avoiding substance use, what are they? And increasing health behavior or behaviors, which ones? So what are some strategies here? We've got a whole bunch of them. These are the ones that we use in our goal plans. I recommend short-term weekly 7-day goals. That gives them something to focus on immediately. And again, avoiding substance use should be in the goals, increasing a healthy behavior. Sign it and co-sign it with somebody in their lives that they can trust that will increase motivation for change. Have them monitor and log, if you will, every day for the next 7 days, their achievement or non-achievement of that goal for the day. Number 4, goals should be at a minimum specific and identify the quantity and frequency. Number 5, have your youth reward themselves at the end of the week for small positive changes. And number 6, have them continue to set goals on a weekly basis, reinforce that, support that, help them, give them resources. The more they set, they monitor, and they achieve short-term goals, the more likely they'll develop self-control skills and self-efficacy long-term. So what can we conclude from these, all this stuff I presented? Number 1, youth experience multiple health risks from substance use, but other health risk behaviors, which impacts their mental health, their physical health, chronic disease. And I'm talking specifically about physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and inadequate sleep, and uncontrolled stress. Number 2, there are mental, physical, and social benefits to practicing the big 3: physical activity, breakfast, nutrition, sleep, plus relaxation. There are mental, physical, social benefits to those, as well as avoiding substance use, or in addition to avoiding substance use. This is the goal. This is the package if we want to really increase overall mental, physical, and social well-being of young people and address multiple things in our prevention programs. Lastly, there's 4 easy steps for youth that they can practice, then you can share with them and walk them through to help them achieve a more active, healthy, drug-free, successful, confident, whatever they want to add to that life. And if you want to learn more, go to preventionpluswellness.com. Call us anytime here in St. Augustine, 904-472-5022. You can email me, Dr. Wirch, at info@preventionpluswellness.com. By the way, I go by Chudley usually. So, but thank you so much. Let's take a look at the Q&A if anybody has anything. By the way, now is the time. You got a question, you got a comment, add it here. I wanted to see if anybody had anything. Some people earlier had just introduced themselves. Is it because youth will follow the crowd? Like if you show data of how many teens use substances, it's more likely for youth to engage in substances. So following the crowd, I think that's anonymous. That's an interesting way to look at it. I think that's one way to look at it. Following the crowd is a way to describe it. Another way is that we know that youth, for substance use, let's take a look at that, they have a tendency to overestimate their perception of their peers engaging. So I don't know why that is, but that overestimation then is a in it of itself is a risk factor that gives that in other words, another way to describe it is, hey, everybody's doing it, so that gives me permission to do it. So and so you don't want to present. And again, I see this all the time. We continue to, as prevention and health specialists, it's just sort of a need. And I've got a blog I'm going to post here in the next day or two on this. It's just a natural reaction. We want to present worst case scenarios to everyone, but we really need to be careful when we present to youth, because if you do present that most youth or many youth or all youth are using, that is actually going to backfire, because that's not going to say, hey, this is a problem. It's going to say to those youth, hey, it's a norm, it's common, I could do this. So yes, show your prevalence rates to adults, to funding agencies, to parents, but do not show prevalence rates to youth, okay? That's why I recommend highly you show other data, other statistics like severity or how it can impact their life, particularly, their day-to-day life or their immediate life, even more so than long-term. So that's my recommendation. So I think you've got something. I think, following the crowd is certainly a part of it. Will the links be shared? Maurice, you're going to get the slides if you've registered. So everybody's going to get the slides, and you can, do what you want with the slides. You can share those, and please do share them. I think it's really important. This is the first time we've really created something that we really think you should present to you in some form or another. Benedict said, is it possible to get the slides? Yes, I will send that to you. I'll send you a link to the recorded webinar, and I'll send you a 1-hour CEU certificate. You just put your name in and print out for your records. Not sharing the negative statistics with youth in our approach is noted. Yes, thank you. Because again, we just forget that. I mean, and it's a natural, because we're so used to seeing those statistics, and we're so used to sharing them among ourselves at our conferences and so on. And so you're not even aware of it. So, but be very, very careful. You can share negative outcomes, you can share risk, but you don't need to show prevalence, because that can end up being a boomerang. It could end up being a backfire and actually exacerbate or increase the risk for substance use. So think of it this way: a young person sees that most of their peers are using. What are they going to think? Oh, okay, then, they approve. There's the other normative belief. They're using, they approve of use, and therefore, why not try? So that's, I think, the logic, or the unconscious thinking that might take place in decision making. Thank you. Excellent presentation. Keep spreading the message. Thank you very much, Sandra. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, thank you. This stuff, I think, and structurally we know, but we have laid out, and it's like a great. Jennifer, thank you so much for that. All right, I think we're out of time, so you'll hear from me. No need to reach out to me. I'll send you again the slides. I'll send you a link to the recorded webinar. Share those widely, please. Let other people know. Present the slides to your youth. Great idea. And if you need to change that, edit that, go ahead and do that. And of course, you'll get the certificate for your time spent with us. Thank you, guys. God bless you for what you do for youth and families in your region. If we can help in any way, do go to our website, preventionpluswellness.com. See how we have existing evidence-based programs that integrate substance use prevention with the promotion of the big 3 lifestyles and stress as well, stress control. And I think you'll find our materials very helpful in promoting overall physical and mental well-being. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you again. Bye-bye.